I'm really in, uh, I have a lot of intent with most things that I do now because I know eventually I won't be here. And
Right.
I've got to leave a world for my kids that I can be proud of. And I know we can't all stick around. And so I have to prepare my kids to live without me.
Thank you.
Jack McMahon. Man, it's a pleasure to speak with you. I first of all, I just can you give me and my audience tell us a little bit about yourself, your where you came from, how you grew up, and what your choice of career was that ultimately led to your book.
Yeah, I grew up in Ohio. I was born in 87, 37 now. Um, Small town, about 20,000 people. So I guess a little bit more than depends on your definition of small town. Small town for me.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I grew up and in schools, kind of nerdy kid most of the way through. Junior and senior year, kind of had a Breaking Bad, not in the show sense, but in the original sense of the words. That was my
That's
my years of kind of making up for the first 10 years of just kind of living passively.
so
Um,
did you sign up for the military right out of high school or
no, I did not. Right after high school, I kind of was I had education like in my mind. I was just like, I got this. I already did. I went through school. I There's nothing else I can learn. I'm just gonna go out in the world, and if I make X amount of dollars, I'll be happy. So I just moved to Savannah, Georgia, right after high school or shortly after. Lived there for a while, and then quickly realized, okay, I was wrong, and I wanted to. I was just kind of bored, and I was like, all right, I am comfortable with like how much I've learned so far, and I want to like make up for the things that I haven't done in my life. I was extremely underweight, was the skinniest, weakest kid alive, and so I was like, all right, I'll join the military, and I'll go in the Marines because they're supposedly the hardest, and physically. So I was like, I'll do that. Uh, and then it took me a while because I had like a disorderly conduct from high school that they had to get through. So I had to move back to Ohio to go through the recruiter here
right?
because the one in Georgia wouldn't said he couldn't get past the stuff from when I was a kid, but the guy in Ohio said he would.
Right.
He could get me through. It just took 6 months and a lot of talking to commanding officers, and
Was it just
eventually
like
they're like,
signing
join.
waivers or whatever?
Yeah, yeah, signing waivers, making sure like mental health is good, and
Right.
it wasn't major crimes or anything. I had a disorderly conduct from when I was like 16 or 17.
It's hard to believe they hold that stuff against you, man. It's almost shocking kind of because you really kind of some of us want to go and learn that, train that stuff out of us. You know what I mean?
Right.
I kind of had the same issue. I had a problem with authority until I didn't. I like they I growing up, I questioned everything, and that's just not a good quality for the military. So I ultimately got passed on, but I wanted to do those things. But what, so you had a little bit of time in between high school and military service. About what age did you join?
Right after my 21st birthday. I almost didn't because I also, right before that, about a few days before my 21st birthday, I also got an underage, which almost stopped me from going. It was like a week before I left. I was like out celebrating, gosh, this is gonna ruin it.
Yeah.
I already spent like almost a year trying to get past all these waivers, and it's like, all right, we're good. You're just going.
So what'd you end up doing for an MOS for a job?
Airside supply was what I went in for. I tried to do like electrical and a couple other ones, but I'm colorblind, so they were like, no. So all of the ones where you could get bonuses, they were like, I was like, yeah, give me some extra money. I'll do the hard ones if they give me extra money. And they're like, nope. The ones that I picked that I like kind of wanted to do and transfer into like later in life, um, they rejected for colorblind. So I was just like, whatever, open contract, give
Oh,
me whatever you want, I'll just do it. I don't care. I'm I joined for other reasons. I kind of like you said, had a problem with authority and like arguing against systems, and I didn't think anybody was like any institution was good enough for my standard, my personal standard. And I was like, this one, these people will be though. I was a
right,
little
right.
naive on that too.
Yeah,
So
so I don't actually I do still have that problem with authority, but like I understand the concept of why I need to do what I need to do. And
right,
I think that comes with a little bit of age and wisdom, and which doesn't translate well in the military also, because then you're not physically able to do the things that your body wants to, or you're not physically able to do all the things that your mind wants you to do.
absolutely.
So So what do you do? What do you do for a career right now? Are you working in a factory or
No, since getting out, I was mostly in factories. I did CNC a lot, warehousing and manufacturing mostly. My dad owned a CNC shop, so I kind of learned through him and a friend of his. He's also my friend's dad, how to program CNCs and run CNC machines. So I did that
so
a
the
lot.
so the skills that you learned in the military actually translated into a living on the outside of military service?
Somewhat, the supply side, yes. So not anytime I was working in manufacturing and CNC, not so much, but anytime I was
Right.
working, with inventories and stuff like that. When I was in the military, I was in the control branch, and then also did some like maintenance and stuff on the second half of it. But the stuff I learned in tech school, with like supply efficiency and stuff like that, carried over. And then I moved in like the last 5 years into more project management roles and focusing on uh, that supply efficiency stuff like
Right.
that. Like so, so I put mixed collar. It's like I'm a little bit of both.
So what is you did write a book. So what's the name of your book?
It's atrophy and asymptotes.
Okay, so I was wanting you to say the title because I wasn't for sure
Yeah,
how to pronounce that second word, and I even had to look it up to find out what it meant. And it it it's very it kind of got my brain to thinking, and then it makes me want to read it actually. Hearing like reading what the reason why you wrote the book and compiled the book, it was just like, yes, I got to get a hold of this book. So can you tell us a little bit about why you wrote the book and why you named it that?
yeah. And also, by the way, I the pronunciation, the I butcher it myself. It's a tough word to say. You got the P and the T right next to each other. I
Right.
usually a lot of times say asymptotes, but it's totes. Um, just saying it fast. But my reason behind it is in like 2020, during COVID times, I also had a death of a family member, my brother. So tough year for me.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you. Um, I don't think that year it so much hit me as much because it was kind of a drunken blur, to be honest.
Yeah.
Um, and then, but shortly after that, in like from 2021 to like 2023, 2024, maybe, about the time I started writing the book, I kind of started isolating from family and friends. Um, my I used to have kind of like the role in the family as, or at least how I envisioned myself was like a forgive and forget. We all are have our problems, but we're going to get together for Christmas. We're going to get together for XYZ. And
Yeah.
then after his death, and then also like the COVID stuff and political things adding
Yeah.
to it when I'm like really just mad about my brother dying, and then the political stuff just added to it.
Yeah.
Um, Either way, it just kind of separated me from my family more than I had ever been, and like hardened my heart against them. And I didn't like that at all because like I'm not used to that. I used to be able to just be like, okay, I could have a fight with anybody, see him the next day, and
I
be like,
can
okay,
I
you
can
know what I mean?
totally relate, man. I can totally relate. That's actually a very similar thing happened in my family, and we'll save that for a separate conversation. I just wanted to man, I completely relate. That during COVID was a rough time, I think, in most people's lives, especially here in the United States, when a lot of our freedoms were essentially taken away, and we weren't allowed to be together. So is that what you were struggling with, is not being allowed to be with people, or?
So that's not exactly it. The freedoms and stuff that were taken away, I think that I've always been like I'm gonna self sabotage on principle type person. so
Right, right.
I probably reacted to COVID more than I should have, or less than. It depends on how you look at it. If you're more
Yeah.
pragmatism or
Yeah,
principle.
definitely depends on how you look at it, because we're looking back now on a lot of things that, like, you were probably right about at the time, that a lot of us were like, man, I got the shot, and I'm looking back, should I have gotten it? I still don't know. So, I mean, I'm with you. I'm definitely with you on the whole thing. It was just it it really kind of tests your faith after looking back on it now, and why we looked at things a certain way. It was more like piercing the veil kind of moment for me. Is that how it
Agreed.
felt for you?
Yeah, a lot of assumptions I guess I had about the people around me
Yeah.
um, were proven wrong, and that same thing was happening in my like internal family at the same time for reasons outside of politics. And when they just combined at the perfect time, or most imperfect time, really,
Right.
uh, just the combination, it just like switched my personality in a negative way, and I became kind of the opposite of how I normally viewed myself. And because of that, that worsened things with my family. And so I'm not necessarily saying it was, COVID lockdowns preventing me from seeing my family. It was more uh, my reaction to that, to both of those events at the same time, kind of
Right.
changing me
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
the
I get it.
negative. And so I was, doing things that I shouldn't have been doing, and cutting off from people and isolating further, like in
Right.
addition to all of that. And then even after COVID had kind of ended, I kept up with that and kept getting more and more
Yeah.
isolated.
Yeah, I
Um,
totally get it.
and, and then the book thing came from just kind of looking back on that and hating where I had been, where I'd driven myself to in response to, outside events, and not being able to go talk to my family because of things that now I had done in like revenge. Not like
Yeah.
real revenge, but just like things that I said and stuff. And like, how can I ever? I used to think they owed me an apology. Now I owe them an apology, and now it's like
Right,
too
right.
far gone.
Yeah.
Um, so I didn't ever want to get there with my daughter, who's now she's 9 years old now. So we have a perfect relationship. But you know, uh, in 2019, I would have said I have a perfect relationship with all my other family members too.
Right, right.
So
Yeah.
who knows what the future will bring? And that's why I kind of want to leave this like I say it's a non-financial life insurance policy. It's like my if she ever needs to come to me, I could very well still be alive, and she's just mad at me, and she can just go
Right.
pick up the book, hear my voice without actually having to go hear my voice.
Yeah, yeah, respect, man. I it's one of the reasons why I do the podcast for real. It's it's definitely thinking about leaving that wisdom behind is one of those reasons why I do a lot of what I do. Um like I said, I had a very similar thing happen to my I lost my mom in 2015, and she was 56 at the time. I was 30. And
Sorry.
thank you. Thank you. It left a big cloud hanging over my head for many years, and I can definitely relate to, and I think that happens to a lot of people, how their family just kind of after the loss of the loved ones. I think it happens to a lot of folks where it's almost painful to get together,
Yeah.
and that's what happened to my family. Um, one of us would start crying, and then it just turned into a big old blubber fest. And like at some point, I do think that stuff ends, but I think it caused a lot of pain in my family. And I was just curious as to what what spurred the writing of the book, and what spurred that wanting to leave that wisdom behind for your daughter. And I think you covered it pretty well. Um, so you mentioned that you have a great relationship with your daughter now. Um, is Can she pronounce the book name?
No, she cannot. I don't think I'm since talking to some people about it, and now I'm kind of thinking I type this wrong 90% of the time. This can be
Right.
really hard title to find.
It might, but it might get a little. I mean, might get the traction that you need it to get. But I think when I looked up the word, and I'm not even going to attempt to say it because that's not right here in front of me. But when I looked up the word, it seemed to fit your purpose of what you wanted to, the description of the book and everything. So, like,
Yeah.
it does fit, and it's a thinking person's title, and just because I didn't know what the name of the word was doesn't mean most people won't.
Also, like I said, I was a nerd in high school, specifically in math, and so I got and the book explores like emotion and like rage and reason. I like alliteration. Obviously, there's it's in the title as well, but it
Right.
explores rage versus reason and how we can use emotion as kind of like a way to identify problems and then the reason for solving them. So I kind of try to keep that as well in the title, atrophy. Like,
And
it's a very
actually,
visceral
I'm
word with the mathematical word.
I actually the cover of the book itself with you know, I'd like to throw a picture of it up here when we're talking about this, but the the skeleton with the little girl, and that is what resonated with me, because that's, like I said, what I feel with the podcast. I'm really in uh I have a lot of intent with most things that I do now, because I know eventually I won't be here, and
Right.
I've got to leave a world for my kids that I can be proud of, and I know we can't all stick around, and so I have to prepare my kids to live without me. And so the cover of your book is just, it gave me goosebumps. And it made me think, man, I really got to get this book. And then I looked at the title, and I was like, yes, that fits with what your ultimate goal is with the book, is to just share that wisdom and have that piece of you that you can pass along down. And did you, in the book, did you write, Did you, first of all, here's the description of the book. It's a collection of deeply personal essays and letters from a father to his daughter, written during the chaotic times of her childhood with the intent to be read when she's an adult, capable of understanding the man behind Dad. This emotional time capsule captures the father's inner struggle. And it cuts off there. I can, oh,
So are
yeah,
you on the website?
yes, yeah, I'm on
You
the
have to learn
website.
more.
There we go. Oh, wow. Yeah. I so this emotional time capsule captures the father's inner struggle, the need to protect his daughter's innocence while dealing with the consequences of his rage, cynicism, and isolation that flows from what he sees as his duty as a citizen to fix this broken world. And as I was reading that, it 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 really made me think. Honestly, I didn't really think about like the isolation part of it as much, but I am pretty isolated from a lot of people in my family, especially like a giant support system that could be there if I just reached out.
Right.
Um, but the the cynicism and rage that's those two words right there are what I really held on to. And I'd like you to elaborate on that a little bit. How the rage and cynicism. Now, when you say cynicism, what kind of cynicism do you mean? The world around you, the world as a whole, or politics, or just an amalgamation of all of it?
Um, Mostly the amalgamation of all of it. It used to just be politics, and like I said, that 2020 year is, and like you had mentioned, the piercing of the veil. It realizing that it extended past politics, and sometimes maybe the cynicism I had for like authority figures or institutions maybe expanded into my loved ones as well was just like a breaking point for me, and that's when the rage was like before it was like, hey, you guys hate the government, me too. uh
Yeah.
but then, then when I realized it crosses over this, the same people that are doing the things I hate in some of the institutions, they're just people that, and just like the people I love are just people, and the people I love are capable of the same like dismissal of things I really care about and I think are
Right.
important, like principles and values that I hold. Um, I don't know. Does that kind of answer it, or
Yeah, absolutely. It absolutely does. Yeah, I was just wondering, like, so when I heard you were in the military, that was it really I wondered about that and the rage and the cynicism. And for me, it feels like everybody's walking around asleep, or like you've heard that term NPC, non-player character.
yep,
Is that what
and
it feels like to
the life
you?
of the gamer. So,
Yeah, is that what it
um,
feels like to you?
I uh, I don't think necessarily NPC, but I would say I go into the book kind of on that topic of like a 10% radicalism on the left or right, or real, that's kind of a vague term nowadays too. But then there's like an
Right,
80% of people in the middle that I don't think it's that they don't have values or that they aren't as passionate about their values necessarily. It does look like that to me because I look at myself as on the 10%.
right.
I But then as I wrote the book, I kind of thought of them more as they all just have a single value that they value over the other ones, which is convenience.
I totally get that, man. That's I've said it multiple times, and I'm always afraid of the pushback that I'm going to get from it. But that's like the boomer generation in a nutshell, man.
Yeah.
It's sometimes it's malicious compliance, sometimes it's For instance, I've got family members who don't understand why I get pissed off when my power goes out and stays out for a long period of time, even though there could be people working on it. They're not. And it's not the linemen. The linemen they're doing their jobs. They're out there in the harsh weather and trying to fix things, and it's dangerous and all that good stuff. But the companies themselves are allowed to not keep up on certain things. They're allowed to, like here in the state of Missouri, they give us rate raises after rate raise after rate raise. And we end up paying more and more and more. And they're telling us that we're going to get upgrades that we never get, or will at least we never see. Now I complain, but my power is pretty dependable. Like we don't lose power very often, but we lose power enough that I have a standby generator all the time.
Right.
And the generation that allowed it to get that way is the boomer generation out of convenience. I believe you're right on that.
So do you do what I do? Is as soon as the power goes out, you go walk out your door and say, "Let's start a riot" to your neighbors,
No, I'm actually
just as
completely
a
the
joke.
opposite. I
Just as
try
a
to
joke.
stay as quiet as possible myself. My neighbors are elderly, and so I'm
So am
afraid they
I.
wouldn't understand. But my next door neighbor, like directly next door, he's a Vietnam vet. I know for sure. And the guy across the street, he's a veteran too. I don't know if he was a combat veteran, but I've never really dove in deep with him. But yeah, I know I don't actually. I probably should go over and ask them if, are you guys okay? Do you guys need anything? But I've been kind of a terrible neighbor.
Yeah, I'm. We've got a few neighbors that we talk to, but we've been here 3 years now. The place I'm at now, and I probably know five people's names.
Yeah, yeah. We've been here. I think we've been here for like 11 years, and I know the people right next door to me. I don't really care much past that. Now that being said, as I was growing up, like as a kid, we were all raised by the neighborhood.
Same.
Like all the neighborhood parents were parents to us, and we just did what we were supposed to do. And sometimes we got in trouble by parents that weren't our parents, and that's just the way it was. I don't mind living in a time or a neighborhood like I just don't. I like to keep by myself, and I have all kinds of things wrong with me, ADHD, autism. I was just recently diagnosed with autism, and I have I'm just very antisocial sometimes. Like I don't want to
Yeah,
be. It's a very weird dichotomy because I have what it takes to be a podcaster, right? I have the gift of gab. I love to talk, but at the same time, this is my home as well. And like when I'm at home, I'm at home. I don't want to be associating with all the neighbors and all that. And it's just a weird thing. Like, and that's why I wondered about the isolation and a lot of my isolation is self-imposed. And
same.
it has a lot to do with the way I grew up and how I was treated. And ultimately, I chose happiness instead. And instead of always being angry or always fighting with people and so like I was the same type of guy where I could fight with my people and go grab a beer with them. But now that I'm older, it's just like why I don't even want to mess with it, man. It's I can't change their minds, The only thing I can worry about is me. So that's what I do. I just focus on me and my little family, and if they want to hang out with me, they can call me.
That's kind of that's very similar to what the experience I had in the kind of active decision of being more isolated. It's not that I was like, okay, now is the isolation begins. And and
Yeah.
nobody, I'm
Yeah,
not talking to anybody.
it wasn't even a conscious decision for me, you know,
Right.
like it was just something that happened. I didn't think I was isolating myself, honestly, but I would invite people over and they wouldn't show up after, a few times, or I just got tired of putting in all the effort myself. And then once I stopped putting in all the effort, I noticed nobody was putting in any effort. So like, why? I'm here. My phone number hasn't changed for 20 years. I've lived in the same spot for a long time. Me and my family, we've been here like almost the same situation. You grew up in a town of 20,000. Like I was born and raised where I live right now. And it's a population of 75,000. But we're an hour north of Kansas City. So
Okay.
it's a bigger town, like 40 square miles, but there's not a whole lot of population here. So it feels smaller than what it is, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so when I was growing up, it was a whole thing that you hung out with your family on holidays and stuff like that. But man, I just got tired of putting in all the effort myself. And when I stopped putting in the effort, it that was a conscious decision. And I was like, well, I'm not going to put forth the effort and inviting you guys if you're never going to show up. So I just stopped doing that. And then everybody quit talking to me. And I was like, what the hell? And my siblings,
Wasn't
I
supposed to
talk to
go
my
like this.
siblings daily. So yeah, it wasn't supposed to be like that. So in your experience, it was a very similar thing for you.
Yeah, I did. It was, you said it was slightly conscious decision. That was kind of mine too. I made a conscious decision, but it wasn't specifically to isolate.
Right.
Um, it was more. It was around the same time as I was already having problems with family, and I wanted to start writing this book. Writing the book then uh, kind of increased the amount of time that I'm thinking about like my legacy to my daughter, and
Yeah.
then hit a rough patch into jobs, and then I'm like, okay, now I have time to write my book and time to spend with my daughter. So then it was
Yeah.
just like more and more and more. So it actually like was kind of beneficial to helping write the book and uh, fill in that need for legacy. At the same time, since I was so focused on that, I was less focused on other people, um, and that just kind of added to it and added to it.
I just want to say for the audience here, it's a third conversation about legacy that I've had on the podcast recently, unintentionally. Like it wasn't an intentional thing to talk about legacy, but I am all about it, man. I am all about it, not. I don't care if anybody remembers me past my kids or my grandkids. I really don't give a shit. That doesn't bother me. I want to be here for the people I know. I want to be here for
Right.
my kids, my grandkids, and I want to leave them. I want to. It's not even that I want them to leave them with anything that they can be proud of. That's not even it. And it's not even money. I want to leave them a way to handle themselves so they can live without me, so they can make it without me. I want to teach them that. And that's wisdom, that's legacy. You know, when you can ensure that your way of life is remembered past
Yeah.
you, that's legacy. And I'm all about it. I think about it all the time. And my my youngest son, who is 6, he has autism. And I worry about a lot with him, like whether he can even take care of himself later on in life. And so I'm super diligent with teaching him the things that he needs to know. And maybe a book would be the right way to go because he could carry it with him all the time. He's always got those words next to his heart. And
Yeah.
it's very admirable that, like, and it's so selfless too, actually. I mean, you think of it as like a selfless or selfish action. I'm going to write a book. I'm an author. But no, for
There's a little
me,
bit
it's
of that.
yeah, yeah.
Sorry to
I
interrupt.
mean, the same. No, it's the same thing with the podcast. I mean, you have to have an ego to be able to do it. Like I'm looking directly at you on my screen instead of looking at the camera, so it looks a little weird, but I feel like it's more personable. And I have to be paying attention. Otherwise, I might get lost and start staring at other stuff, you know? So it's the same thing with the podcast, really. You almost have to have those qualities to be a podcaster. I'd assume it's almost the same with an author or something to that effect. It's something similar to have that mindset that I can do this. It does take a little bit extra than the average person has. I've seen people come in this room, and as a matter of fact, my wife's even done it. I've seen people come in this room and we'll be having a perfectly good conversation, but as soon as the camera turns on, they freeze. And it's
I
it's
can't
it's
say I
kind
haven't done that before.
yeah, well, I mean, I've been there too. I've absolutely been there, but I'm so comfortable with myself. And actually, almost have to be comfortable with yourself to almost have to be comfortable with yourself to self-isolate, which I'm
Oh,
very comfortable
absolutely.
with myself. I love myself. So it's just very hard to believe for me that other people love me. And that's where my issues come in. A lot of anxieties and shit about like what people are thinking about me, and I don't even need to worry about that. It's none of my business, you know? Um, yeah, I just, I don't know. If I were you, I would really consider not changing the name of the book. That's just me because like you do add the rest of that in there, you know. I love the title. I just can't say the word. So
And I
I don't,
barely can.
yeah, yeah. Asymptotes. Is that
I
asymptotes?
asymptotes.
Asymptotes. Okay. Well, I'm trying anyway, but when you read the title
The
and
little
the
subtitle.
description, yeah, and then the description after that, it all flows together and it makes sense. So,
Yeah.
um, once I looked up the word, I was, yeah, that makes sense. I get that. And, atrophy is a really weird one for me because like I use that word a lot, and I'm the only person that I know that uses that word a lot. So when I talk about like I can read maps. I don't know if like if you're proficient in map reading. I have
Eh.
my commercial driver's license, so I've always had maps and atlases, and so I read a GPS while it's on like a map, and I pay attention to road signs and all that stuff. Well, I'm the only person I know that does that now. And when I'm talking about that stuff, I use the word atrophy. And I'm like, well, you know, it's like if you don't use your muscles, they kind of atrophy. What are you talking about? What does that word mean? And I'm like, you don't know what atrophy means? But yeah, I think that's the same. Like maybe that word's more common than we think. But I think the title as a whole works really well.
Thank you.
So So what you can get specific if you want to. What specific pisses you off and fills you with rage enough to write a book?
Oh, um, free speech is probably the biggest one.
Yes, sir.
From
I'm a free speech absolutist, almost a free speech
Yeah,
absolutist.
I that's how I say it too. And then they say why almost, and maybe it's the same for you. I'd like to hear your opinion, but my change or my limit on why I'm not totally absolutist is kids.
Yeah. For me, it's a little bit more complicated because I already know there's rules on speech, hate
Right?
speech. Hate speech, yelling fire in a crowded movie theater. I don't know. In some places, I think that's illegal. So
Yeah, I think so.
I already know that there's already limits on speech. Otherwise, I really think the only way to combat bad ideas is with good ones. And you're not going to get any good ideas if you're smothering all the bad ones.
Right. Yeah, precisely. The way I like to frame it is it kind of, if you're stifling speech, then everybody's like kind of perception of what everybody else thinks is like inherently flawed because nobody's actually ever saying it. So you don't actually know the opinions of anyone. And so
Right.
you're, and that in and of itself is isolating because the only person's mind who you ever truly know is, it's, you can really only know people by what they say and do. So
Yeah.
if they're not allowed to say what they're thinking, then you are not allowed to ever really know any other humans.
Yeah.
And therefore, and if you ever make that logical connection of a place without free speech means you don't know anybody, then it's like extremely isolating to think about.
Yes. Yes. And
It's
it's
like
like I always
I'm the
use
only
the
person I'm allowed to know.
yeah, exactly, exactly. I always use the expression freedom of speech is freedom of thought because without freedom of speech, essentially what you're doing is controlling the way people think. They're not allowed to
Absolutely.
think those certain ways. And it works on the podcast too. I self censor myself all the time because I know, YouTube and Spotify and all those, they all have keywords that and it's not like an individual person is looking at all this on a case by case basis because YouTube has over 1 million videos uploaded every day. They almost
Right.
can't do this at scale and monitor it at all at the same time. So what they use is algorithms and AI generation to like pick out certain things and they add these words in there or phrases or just things that you're not supposed to talk about on an open platform. And they limit that so much that it prevents those ideas from ever seeing the light of day. And it's really weird, and it's a really weird way to live in a life. Like it's very dystopian, and
Absolutely.
it didn't start pissing me off until recently. To be honest with you, it didn't start worrying me until recently, and I've been studying up on I've known about crooked shit their government's done my whole life. I've known about it. It's pretty open and honest, but I just didn't know I was being controlled. You know, I didn't know my family members and their thoughts were being controlled. And so I just wanted to know like what what would piss you off so much that you would write a book. And man, free speech is a big one. How do you feel about UFOs, man?
Um, so man, this is a tough one because if I'm gonna say like obviously 100% of stories are not going to be true
Right.
just because like motivations and you know financial
Absolutely.
gain as of any like has there ever been any contact to earth? Oh,
Well,
I gotta put it at
that's a whole
50-50.
separate thing in my head. So I'm thinking that UFOs have always been here, and when we look back in history over several several governments, they all have historical documents that document like in the same story going back in history, a couple hundred years or whatever. And even in ancient times, the Bible describes what we would consider a UFO abduction in the Bible. And so for me, I'm a UFO fan, and a lot of the themes that are in now, whether it's real or fake, that doesn't matter to me because it's for entertainment purposes for me. It's like a thought of experiment. I do a lot of
Yeah.
thinking. And for me, the piercing of the veil moment was when I realized that this is all bullshit, all of it. And they want us to believe all this stuff so they can control us. And that's essentially it. And it really doesn't matter if they control all of us, just as they control, if they control most of us. And so I just kind of backed away from all that stuff and I'm just not letting it bother me anymore. Was it kind of therapeutic writing it all out in a book?
Yeah, like I said when I started, I'm still pretty isolated. Don't let me give you the wrong idea. But I was way worse at the start of it, and to the point where it was like messing with me, um, and like feeling messing like with self-esteem and just everything about my mental state. So I'm more comfortable being isolated now, I suppose, and like in this new life that I've created for myself since starting, like a little over a year ago, year and a half ago. Um, and I've kind of been able to focus my own values, which is kind of another big thing, like knowing your lines in the sand. And I was able to kind of,
Yeah.
if I think through them in the book and kind of test my own theories, then I know my lines in the sand better.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. Absolutely makes sense. So, um, you don't have to say if you don't want to. How old is your kid?
Nine,
9. Yeah, that's a,
9-year-old daughter.
I remember 9. I remember being 9. That was a good age to be, man. I remember summertime when I was 9 was really cool. Now it's a pain in the ass. I gotta be honest. It's
Yeah, I'm a fall and spring person.
Yes, yes, me too. Spring's my favorite, but it's this spring it was really no, it wasn't this spring. Last spring it was really too wet. It rained the whole spring, but this spring was pretty good. And then the summer got kind of hot. But when I was a kid, I didn't even know, like we didn't have air conditioning when I was a kid, so I didn't know like I never complained about the heat. I don't remember ever complaining about the heat when I was a kid. Now it's like 94 and I'm like I'm melting. It's so it's kind of ridiculous. Um but yeah, so the reason why I ask is because like she's actually old enough now where you can have these conversations with her whenever she asks for wisdom, and that's I think that's pretty important too. Um, I find it a struggle sometimes I find it a struggle sometimes now to even to allow my kids to um well I mean to just be honest with you, well, like when they ask me questions, like sometimes I fight the urge to tell them um things that just get them to stop asking questions. But these days I'm more and more and more just answering the questions. I want to answer their questions. I want to make sure they understand and they have no more questions. And I think that's a great thing to do. And I think you have that opportunity now with your kid because she's old enough to do these things. And then that ultimately leads to like what she'll think, like she will think to grab that book when you're not around and she will be like, hey, this is why dad left this, so I can in these tough moments that I can go back and I can read his thoughts and what how he was feeling when he went through these things. And that will help a lot because that's I think I needed a lot of that when I was growing up, is to know that my parents were normies, like just
Yeah.
like me, you know. But they were my parents, like my mom hid a lot of things from me. She said she did it for, my safety or for her privacy, but I think ultimately she didn't know, so she had to tell me something, and she just told me enough to just shut me up. So, you know,
Do you
it's go
do
ahead.
you when you are like looking for a good time to like impart wisdom upon your children, do you go all out, or do you give them like the, okay, how do I take this lesson but like kidify it. Like try
Sometimes,
to make it more relatable to them.
sometimes I think, oh man, and that's such a good question because I wonder how much of that is me trying to kidify it versus me trying to make sure that they understand because
Yeah,
they're not communicating that they understand. So I'm like, okay, let me try a different way and see if you understand it this way. And I end up over explaining a lot, but I do kind of I when I want to have a teaching moment, more often than not, it happens at the wrong time. And I'm it's in the heat of the moment where sometimes I don't have a whole lot of time to take to make that teaching lesson, but they do ultimately stick because I'm trying to teach all the time. So, and my kids are picking up things a lot more than I thought they would. They are all kids are all just sponges, dude. They're all sponges. And my kids soak up things that I don't even want them to soak up. But at the same time, it makes me feel good that they're learning, you know? So it is what it is. I do try. It is conscious of sometimes where, oh, this is a good time to teach them something. But my 6 year old, like I said, he has autism. And so he looks at us like equals, and I'm just trying to figure this out in teaching him. I don't want to ruin the fact that he looks at us as equals. So because I like that. I think it'll help him use his voice more. And I want him I don't want to discipline him either because I'm afraid that he won't understand why I'm disciplining him. And so I think with this one, if I explain to him why, like if I use that discipline moment as a teaching moment instead, I think it would do him better, if that makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah.
So, um, actually, I'm not much older than you, and my oldest is 22 and my youngest is 6. And now I've got grandkids. So it's like I'm
Congratulations.
thank you. Thank you. I'm actually only 40. I was born in 85, so we're not that far apart in age, but is she your oldest or only?
Only. Yeah.
Only. Yeah, that's pretty awesome too. Let me tell I've got 4 total and only 2 have lived in the house at the same time. I had 3 at the same time, but not for very long. But let me tell you, it's a madhouse having more than one. So, what do you, so are you in between jobs now? Or are you just writing full time or
No, I have a day job as well. Uh,
you don't
I
have
have
to
an
go into it
NDA.
if you,
I have an NDA,
yeah,
and I started this new job. I had a 5 month interview process, and have 3 weeks. I'm 3 weeks in now. It's in composites.
no worries,
I
man. You
don't
don't have to
know.
get into
I'm
it.
not exactly sure. What all the people are like there, and I'm not really trying to sell my book to my coworkers.
Yeah. Hey,
If
I
you know what I
totally
mean.
get it. I totally get it. I totally get it. I was just curious because I worked in a factory for a while. I I actually liked it, but it was hard work for not enough money, and ultimately I had to go. I worked in construction for about 8 years, and then after I got fired from a construction job, and when I got fired, it working had totally jaded me, and like I almost can't work for anybody else right now. Like it's that like I can't go to work and be pissed off all the time. Life is too short to be mad all the time. And since my son has autism, the only time I could work is while he's in school. And it's only like 6 hours, 6.5 hours a day. So I don't really have enough time now. but this is what I do full time, and I'm a stay-at-home
Awesome.
dad, and it's a pretty good. It's a good. I'd hate to say waste of time, but um it's a good way for me to spend my time is
Yeah.
communicating and talking with other people, open and honest communication about whatever the I like talking about politics. I like talking about um kids. I like talking about parenting. I love talking about UFOs and stuff like that. A lot of people here recently getting into religion and kind of stuff like that, and I think that's kind of cool. And it's very weird to have all those topics all together, but for me, it's like these are all the things that I like talking about, and I'm very intelligent, but not formally educated. So I love these conversations where we could just go all over the place and meet
I do
back at the
too.
middle. It's those are the podcasts that I like listening to myself. So I mean, why not do that for my own?
Precisely.
So,
I
are you going to write another book, or is this your only one?
so I wanted this obviously had, a purpose outside of just, hey, I'm gonna be an author. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah,
Outside of just like, hey, I want to be an author. I've always liked writing, but I mean, this was like, okay, this has a specific intent behind it. It's not just write and sell a book. Um, but then obviously while I'm writing this, I'm also like, oh, I kind of want to go into this other subject in this book. I don't know if I should throw it in, if it makes sense to do it in this, because it's more like I don't have a lesson specifically for my daughter on this topic, but
yeah,
I want to talk about it. So I'm like, okay, I'll leave that out of this book, but I do like maybe I have a collection of those like chapters that I would have done, and those will
yeah.
turn into other things. So uh I have a couple ideas for a fiction book. Both of them are conspiracy related because I love that. I love that stuff.
Me too.
And
Me too.
if I'm going, one's comedy though, and one's like a thriller. And I don't know if I can write comedy. Uh, but so I'll have to kind of like give that a go and see, like test it with people and be like, is this actually funny to read, or is it
Right.
only funny like when it's spoken, or what? Um, and then another nonfiction, which is more about the workplace. And that is one that now that I wrote this, and I'm like, I can't ever sell this or show this book to any coworker.
Yes. Yes.
Just, but so now I want to do one where I can, and it's more about just like workplace trends. So it might be a little boring, but
Nope, nope. I totally get it. I'm in the same spot. Like we really want to talk about some things that we can't talk about, like legally can't talk about. So it's one of those things that I totally get it, man. And I love the ER doctors and the ER nurses that they come out and they talk on podcasts and they talk on there's that show. Oh shoot, I can't remember the name of the show now, but it was an old show that had medical experiences of the ER. I love those type of stories that they can talk about jobs, their job, and not give any too much information away and stuff like that. And then I also like the shows like Cops and stuff like that. I like those shows, but I like the podcasts where the police officers and the ex-police officers can come on and talk about the things that they couldn't talk about while they were in service. But I don't,
right,
so I wanted to talk to the police officer, one of the police officers here in town that where I live, and they won't talk to me until after retirement. And I'm like, why? And they're like, it's against policy. And I'm like, wonder why? And they were like, well, we have a public relations department, and they talk for us, and we're not allowed to get into like certain specific things. And I'm like, man, I just want to talk to you about your life, not your job, your experiences. What do you talk about with your coworkers, and like tell me the funny stories about your job, not the political stories about your job. And
Right.
like I think most places are just afraid of what the people that work for them will say about them. So they tell you no. And there's been, the cancel culture and stuff like that. I'm not I hate the cancel culture, but I do understand, you know, certain companies not wanting their employees to come out and talk. I
Right.
totally get it. I totally get it. And when you're writing an entire book about it, I bet you could get away with it as long as you didn't still work for the place, you know?
Yeah. I just
So, oh, go
the
ahead.
the then the other one that's more like workplace friendly and about the work because it's going to be about the workplace.
Right.
I wouldn't like ever be like I don't know. I guess I'm just saying like when I wrote this one, it is absolutely political or involves
Right.
politics. It's not trying to convince anybody of my political opinion. It's more about it is important to have values and draw lines in the sand. They can be different lines than mine.
Yeah.
Um, but I do use some of the imagery that's used in it. I try to take like things to their logical conclusion, like my points and points against me. And I use a lot of metaphors that so your coworker reads, they're gonna be like, "I'm not
What
working with
is
this
he
guy
saying?
anymore."
Yeah. Yeah. I totally
So
get it. And then it's the sense of humor from being in the military too.
yeah,
So,
gallows humor, I like that's very present in the book, and um, the language used isn't going to be anything that you could say in a workplace. It's very the book is vulgar. Uh,
yeah, I am not professional one bit. And that's one of the reasons why I'll never work in an office because I'm just it's not me. And I'll never dress up in a suit and tie unless my daughter or my grandkids ever ask me to. If like if my wife asked me to, I might, but I don't. My wife would never ask me to, so it's just not me. Um, and that may be another one of them reasons why I couldn't work a normal job is because I look at that as I can go to work and just keep my mouth shut. That's not a problem. I can, but I need to have my beliefs. And if I say something at work, I don't want it to get me fired. You know what I
right.
mean? And because of that, because everywhere is like we will fire you if you say certain things, like man, I am much better off with my own business. That's for sure.
Yeah, if that's why I cut the book thing. If I look at them as lottery tickets.
Yeah,
With
yeah,
you got better odds than a lottery ticket though. And if that can kickstart me going into doing my own thing, I've tried to start my own business before. It didn't work out, and then I went back and I was like, okay,
yeah.
I'll
I'm
go
I'm
back
in
to
the
what I don't like.
yeah. I
Like,
think I think they say that you got to give it like 5 years before you're
yeah,
making any profit, and I know a lot of people don't have that much time. A lot of
right.
people don't. It's much safer to work for somebody else, and at that, I would much rather be poor than to be treated horribly by somebody that I don't like and have to go back the next day. You know,
Say
it's it just sucks,
that's
and it's
good.
the struggle of people, man, it is the struggle of being able to afford to say, no, that's not okay with me versus I have to pay this bill. I have to put food on the table. And that's my goal. That would be my legacy is to be able to provide the safety and knowledge to my kids to hey, you don't have to play by their rules. You can play by your own within their rules, you know.
I like that a lot. So that's one the thing the fatherhood versus citizenship duties that I was talking about. That's
Yeah.
the way you explained it is like a great way to include both like the abstract qualities that you need to pass
Yeah.
on to the next generation while also keeping it the pragmatic fatherhood responsibilities of like, oh well, you got
Yeah.
to make sure that your kid can survive in the world.
Right. Right.
But yeah, but you're still doing it with keeping your principles as well.
Yeah.
That's what I'm striving to do as well. I do struggle with it.
Yeah, I'm not at all religious either, and I do believe in all that, but I'm not religious by any means. And some people take like morals and values to mean like religious, and for me, like I don't have to have the promise of heaven to be a good person, you know? Like I am an asshole, don't get me wrong. Like it just depends on the day. I am human, but like none of us are perfect, man. And
Right.
that's if teaching teaching my kids like it's okay to goof up. You know, it's okay to make mistakes. It's how you deal with those mistakes that sets you apart from everybody else. Don't cry about it. Just get up and shake it off. And now for all the sensitive people out there, I don't mean, don't cry. Of course, it's okay to cry. I've cried on the podcast. But what I'm saying is like, get up, shake yourself off, dust yourself off and get back moving. That's the important thing. Get back after it. Mistakes are not bad. It's what you do after the mistakes. That's the hard part to teach, like you almost can't teach resilience, but that's ultimately what I want is independence and resilience. Teaching how to grow food, teaching how to cook food. We bake our own bread now. We've been baking our own bread for a long time. Um, but teaching those specific skills and teaching them how to survive, teaching them that independence is good, that they don't have to depend on anybody else. I think the rest of it follows that.
I do too. Yeah, personal responsibility, independence. I love
Yeah.
that. On the topic you mentioned of like uh it's okay to fail, that type of lesson in teaching. Today I've that's something in the past like 3 or 4 months I've been trying to hammer in as well. And today my daughter does a lot of drawing, and every once in a while I'll catch her like making huge sighs and groans about like she doesn't like how her drawing turned out, and she'll like rip up the paper or something. And I'm like, hey, like there's not really any need to do that because
Yeah.
if you don't do it, if you don't make that bad drawing, then you haven't created anything great. So
That's
they
how do you
literally
how do you
you have
get good if you don't
0%
practice?
chance. Yeah, you have 0% chance if you don't like try. But you have like even if you're a horrible drawer or you are a horrible artist, you have a 1% chance to make it how you want.
Yeah.
Well, that's you maybe make a good drawing today, and maybe you don't. And but if you just don't do the drawing because you're frustrated and you throw it away, then you're guaranteed to not have the drawing that you want at the end of the day.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I tell you what, I think that's a good place to leave this conversation, brother. I I think now I'm gonna have to start telling people this. I am terrible about communicating. Okay, it's like so I've got a million people that like try to talk to me all the time. I have to. I'm starting to have to be selective about like my time and stuff. So, um, I would say that I'll reach back out to you, but you could reach back out to me. And like, if you're considering another project, writing another book, like we'll get together. Actually haven't grabbed your book yet. I haven't had a chance to yet. Like I said, I'm kind of broke doing the father thing,
Yeah, I
it's
understand.
yeah, absolutely. So, your book is on, it's on, let's see, where can you find the book? It's
Either my
Amazon,
site,
Barnes and Noble, and Ingram Spark.
Yeah,
And
on
then
Ingram Spark you get a $2 discount as well, and I get more
it's okay. So point everybody there. So and
money.
hey, where can people find you? Your website, say that out, and
It's
we'll link it out down in the description below and the socials.
okay. It's JEMCMAHON. It's JE, my initials, McMahon. And then all my socials are linked on there. The Substack though is not related to the book. It's a project I'm working on, messing around with AI. Just started it up.
Hell yeah. That's what's up. Yeah, we can also have another completely separate conversation about all of that stuff because I'm not afraid of it. I love where it's going. I think it's going to make people I do think it's going to make people dumber, but I think it's going to make lives easier ultimately.
I I think that the trajectory it's going will make people dumber. And that's kind of what my goal of my project is to kind of reverse that and have people
There you
start
go.
using it to test their own cognitive ability.
Well, I think now here's something interesting about AI that I think once you take away all people's like the things that they have to worry about and let allow them to focus on the things that make them happy, and if the governments of the world would back away from the education system and allow them to learn, and allow if we allow children to think from them for themselves and teach them not what to think, but how to think. I think we can reverse that trend from heading towards idiocracy. I think we can reverse that trend by teaching them how to think, not what to think.
Agreed.
Awesome, man. So
Otherwise,
the
they have atrophy of the brain.
that's that's right. That's damn. You snuck that in on me, man. So so it's jemcmahon.com, and then
Yep.
the links for all the socials are there. There's the name of the book. We'll flash that up a couple times on the screen, and the when while we're talking about the book, we'll have the cover and everything. But the links and everything will be down in the description below. Hang out with me for a second, Jack. We're gonna let these guys go. We'll see you guys later. Bye.